I want to go back to that specificity of thought, going over every single detail and empowering them to do the same. He's a phenomenal force. He was a phenomenal force, is a phenomenal force.
Mr. Wolfe, this film is incredible. Thank you so much for shining a light on Bayard Rustin, which I think is so much deserved. He is really a beacon of power and inspiration. Why was now the right time for a Bayard Rustin movie for him to come out of the shadows of history?
It should have happened many years ago, but it didn't. But it's happening now. And I think it's sort of, in many respects, it's the perfect time. It's the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington. I think there are many people are trying to do interesting things with history, like erase it. So instead of yelling and screaming in response to that, you celebrate somebody who was lost and you lift him up and you put a light on him and you do a movie about him and you celebrate his complexity and his depth and his intelligence and his ferocity and his belief in America. And that's the answer. That's the answer to erasing history, is to celebrate it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I think Colman Domingo is phenomenal. I feel like it's an Oscar-worthy performance. What did he bring to the role that wasn't on the page?
He brought his what I think every good actor, great actor, important actor brings. He brought his humanity, he brought his vulnerability, and he brought his heart. And I think the whole cast did that as well. Oh, yeah. There's an image at the very beginning, and I really feel ashamed that I don't. The young woman who, when the ketchup drops down her face, I went over to her and I was explaining to her what was going to happen, and I said, I want to make sure that you're safe. And she said, do whatever you can. This is too important. And I love that this woman, who doesn't have a line, but she's the first face we see, was that committed, gave that much heart, and was willing to sacrifice whatever she needed to sacrifice to help tell the story.
Absolutely. Look, speaking of that, how powerful this movie is, ironically, one of my Uber drivers when I was coming out here was actually an extra in the march scene.
Oh, wow.
And he did a little research on Bayard Rustin, and he was moved that he was a part of this film. First of all, can you talk about recreating that march scene and how Bayard Rustin did this without a cell phone or technology to mobilize all these people to this?
Well, because he had one of those brilliant organizational brains. People who weren't fans of his, or who questioned him because of his homosexuality, or questioned him because he was a former communist and all this sort of stuff, acknowledged that he had a brilliant, brilliant organizational mind. And he surrounded himself with kids who were fearless and who he could inspire and push and challenge. And they rose to the occasion. And in 8 weeks' time, they pulled together this phenomenal event. And it takes a man with that sense of detail and that sense of commitment and determination. And I want to go back to that specificity of thought, going over every single detail and empowering them to do the same. He's a phenomenal force. He was a phenomenal force, is a phenomenal force.
Couldn't agree with you more. Now, in what ways do you think Bayard Rustin's legacy is relevant and impactful in today's social and political climate?
He's a role model. And I don't mean that he's a role model. I mean that, therefore, that's his sense of organization, his sense of commitment. He was a freedom rider back in 1947. He went to prison because he was a conscientious objector and didn't believe in fighting during World War II. He protested against the Japanese. In other words, Japanese being interned. He found himself in so many different causes. It needn't look like him to be about him. And I think we need to reinvest in that phenomenon.
Well, look, sir, thank you so much for spreading a light on this, or shining a light on this. And I just listened to the Elizabethan songs in Negro Spirituals last night, and what a tremendous voice the man had as well. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
I can't believe you listened to it's amazing, isn't it?
The whole album, it's incredible.
It really is.
Incredible. And you get that like old school disc, or that record playing sound.
Yeah.
Oh, incredible.
Oh, well, good.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir.
Thank
I appreciate it.
Okay.